Catastrophes take many shapes and come in many sizes. I'm going to take a couple of videos to talk about the four major categories of catastrophes and how to get ready for them. Let's talk about that. Here's your armed citizen meme of the week. Screen cap it, crop it, and send it to everyone you know.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
Now, let's get on with the content. Yes, there is mist coming off of my breath. It is 36 degrees in my unheated garage. To start off with, this is my opinion, backed by 30 years of experience. I was prepping for Y2K while many of you were in diapers. I am not an expert. I do not have all of the answers. I don't even have all of the questions. That being said, for subjects like this, I do a lot of research, thinking, and testing before I open my mouth. And along with everyone else's opinion, my opinion and $7.85 will get you a cup of hot caffeinated liquid. Now, this is a high-level overview and is in no way complete or comprehensive. I can't cover in a couple of videos what some other channels have been going on for years about. I'm doing this to get you started and offer a general direction for you to head off on. The rest is up to you. If you think the continued existence of yourself and family in the face of a disaster is important, I strongly encourage you to pay attention, take notes, and then get to researching. Be careful, though. Buy nothing survival related until you have done your research and asked questions of those who know more than you or I. My advice to you here is to avoid the panic YouTube channels, the ones who proclaim you need these 7 tools to survive or do this so you don't expire. Or at least view them with a healthy dose of skepticism, because when you're scared, you make bad decisions. Some of these channels do a very good job at scaring those who don't know. Beware of the channels that mention websites where you can buy what they're talking about. Read and learn, then cogitate, meditate, and pray on it before you move. But start moving. Here is a chilling phrase that you need to take to heart. Preparation only buys odds, not guarantees. You can have everything you need, do everything right, and still come up short. Never forget that.
It is possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That is not a weakness. That is life.
To be frank, most preppers prepare too much. They prepare for that absolutely worst case scenario that realistically has a 0.1% chance of happening, and the one that we probably wouldn't survive anyway. The good news is the lesser catastrophes are mostly covered by the maximum prepping for that maximum event. The 4 types of catastrophes we might face are personal, local, regional, and Tiwanki, or the end of the world as we know it. The first 3 have a significant chance of occurring. In fact, they happen on a regular basis. Frankly, you probably don't want to survive the Tiwonki. Let's start with the catastrophe that hits closest to home. The four categories of things I suggest you acquire, and I talk about in the later videos, are food, water, alternative utilities, and cash. I'll go into more detail in the next video on this subject. The most common catastrophe that can befall us is some form of a financial disaster. You and or your partner have lost your job, become disabled, can't work, your only vehicle died, etc. Some kind of large financial impact causing an already tight budget to be stretched beyond the breaking point. The good news is your supplies are intact and there are social services on standby ready to aid you. Food stamps and private food pantries will likely be available to you. That right there will stretch your food supplies and cash. Unemployment benefits and services are likewise available, including retraining if necessary. Public transportation still runs if you're in an area that has it. Your friends and social network can also help. If you can work, pick up a retail or fast food job until you can get your career back on track. During this catastrophe, you need to stretch your cash as much as possible since you don't know how long it will last. This means talking with your bank or landlord. Talking with them means you can negotiate with them to defer or reduce payments during this moment of crisis. Most public utilities also have a similar payment assistance help, either deferral or grants. Likewise, if you have any debts like a car note, personal loan, credit cards, and the like, talk with your lenders. Tell them you can't pay and why. Talking with your debtors leads to better outcomes than avoiding them. Each lender is different. However, the advice is the same. Talk with them and explain. They might be very accommodating, waiving late fees, rolling payments to the back of the loan, whatever you can work out with them. Still, cut expenditures to the critical minimum. This means comfort items like streaming services, door dashing, and the like go bye-bye. If something breaks, decide if the repair can wait until the crisis is over. If you deplete your cash paying for non-survivable things, I promise you won't die if you don't have at least 3 streaming services. That's just a magnet that attracts more trouble. You can call it confirmation bias. I call it Murphy's Law. Spend zero on luxuries. This includes zero eating out. You can make family-sized meals for half the cost of one person eating out. I want to someday publish a cookbook of cheap and simple meals aimed primarily at young single men. I intend on calling the book Bachelor Chow. Cell phones and internet are a conditional necessity. You need them to communicate and to find resources. However, consider turning off non-essential services. The second kind of catastrophe is a localized one. This is a very localized disruption of services like your town or county. On July 22nd, 2003, Memphis had an unexpected derecho or straight line windstorm. Because it's Memphis, we ended up calling it Hurricane Elvis. For about an hour, starting at 6 a.m. that day, we had constant winds of over 100 miles per hour, basically a Category 2 hurricane that hit the greater Memphis metroplex. It basically destroyed the city and the surrounding area. There was no travel because hundreds of trees were down, which knocked out power and blocked streets. Hundreds of homes were also damaged or destroyed by the falling trees. Memphis basically disappeared from the map and no one noticed because that day was the same day U.S. forces cornered and eliminated Saddam Hussein's sons in Iraq. The media was paying attention to that, so we got overlooked. And due to the combination of the unexpected severity of the storm and the media not covering us, it took several days for regional utility companies to get the word we needed help, then to organize and dispatch repair crews. Likewise, organizations like the Red Cross and FEMA were delayed in dispatching aid. The combination of the severity of the storm and the delay in dispatching is why it took almost a month for power to be fully restored to the entire area. My family and I were without power for just over 3 weeks. Also, Memphis gets an ice storm every 2 to 4 years, where it's raining while the temperatures go below freezing. This coats the power lines with ice and weighs them down until they break. Thankfully, the preparations we have kept us warm and safe. A generator to keep the furnace and refrigerators running, computers for entertainment. If we lost our gas utilities, we have propane heaters for warmth with a butane stove, charcoal grill, and even as a last resort, a rocket stove made out of cinder blocks for cooking outdoors. The bad news is bad people prowl the streets at night in such situations. This happened a lot during Hurricane Elvis. If they hear your generator, they'll roll quietly into your driveway in the middle of the night, steal and start up your lawnmower, then steal your generator. Since there was no real change of sound when you were asleep, most people didn't notice until the next morning. In such a case, I suggest an alarm device that if the power drops, it alarms to wake you up, and a sentry to be ready for just such moments. For this type of catastrophe, there is a chance your house is damaged and your preps damaged or destroyed. Diversification of supplies is indicated, even if it's just on opposite sides of the house. Remember, your objective here is to wait it out until the cavalry arrives to restore utilities and repair the damage if you have any. The third catastrophe is a regional catastrophe. This is a state or region-wide disaster, such as a hurricane, earthquake, forest fire, and so on. Diversification of supply caches is also indicated here because losing your home is an almost expected result of one of these disasters. The good news is, if you can call it that, you will probably have several days' notice to prepare. And once the event has passed, aid will be quickly on the way. The fourth disaster is Tiwanki, or the end of the world as we know it. This one is different because in the first three, there is cavalry ready to ride over the hill to your rescue. Tiwanki is the collapse of everything. I'm talking on the scale of a solar flare that directly hits Earth, a meteor strike, a total nuclear exchange, and or a well-planned attack on the national infrastructure. Disruption of transportation systems like railroads, interstates, and bridges. Utility disruptions such as power, gas, and water, along with the internet. These systems will force the entire infrastructure of the supply chain, banking, and government to grind to a halt. The TLDR of this catastrophe is you probably won't survive the initial event, and if you did, you will quickly grow to regret that you did. Frankly, unless you're already living like the Amish on a self-sufficient farm a significant distance from a city, your chances for long-term survival are somewhere between infinitesimal and insignificant, or slim and none. 99% of the people are going to probably perish in this scenario. The best case scenario we have is we will fall back to a pre-industrial age level of technology. The reason why most of us won't make it is because we don't have the physical stamina to survive an unpowered existence. Desk jobs are not physically demanding. On top of that, most of us don't have the knowledge needed to survive in an unpowered world. We've never had to think about it because the supply chain that routinely delivers everything we want and need directly to our door or near enough to it is so ubiquitous that it is nigh on invisible to us. And like oxygen, we won't notice it until it's gone. And if it goes away and doesn't come back, most people won't be able to handle that paradigm shift. Because once the batteries die and the fuel runs out, you lose those machines. If you don't already have the knowledge, skills, resources, and head start, as in you're already growing your own food, you'll starve. That is, if you don't get killed and eaten by reavers first. Don't think you'll just walk out to the rural area with your 9mm and take someone's farm from them. Or they'll let you work there for them for a share of the food. Even if you manage to take the farm, do you know what, when, and how to plant food? How about how much to plant? Familiar with animal husbandry to take care of the animals? I didn't think so. You won't have the time to figure it out on the fly because you might accidentally eat or destroy something critical that you'll need 3 months later. Then you're truly screwed, and you get to sit there knowing your end is imminent and inevitable as the rising sun. Even if you find that farm, are you truly self-sufficient? The well for water probably requires a 240-volt three-phase electric motor pumping that water up from 100 plus feet down. The heat and cooking probably comes from that 1,000-gallon propane tank behind the house that you're not going to get any more deliveries for. Do they have 10 cords of wood stacked and seasoned for when the propane runs out? How about horses instead of ATVs to haul trees to the home so you can split the wood? Do they have the animals and equipment to plow the fields to plant food? I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down here. In conclusion, disasters happen every day, somewhere. Some types of disasters happen more often than others. Prepare for the disasters and catastrophes that are likely to happen, not the extreme cases that no one is likely to make it through anyway. Take heart. The cavalry is riding to the rescue. Stay safe, stay bullet-free. Tell your family you love them every chance you get. Y'all have yourselves a wonderful day. If you made it this far, thank you. If you liked this content, please hit the like button to show your support. Help me get the word out by subscribing to my channel, and don't forget to turn notifications on so you know when I post new content. If you think this content would help your friends, the share button helps you get it out to your social media. Comments mean a lot to me, good or bad. please leave one. All right, go forth and have a most excellent day.